Well, here we are at the first building BimmerWorld ever worked out of. So at that point, BimmerWorld was me and Jason Marks, our crew chief shop manager, started sweeping the floors here part-time in our mint green building. So mint green, why mint green versus the brown one down here? Well, because the sun hit on the side of the buildings in the summer, and there's no insulation, there's no running water, there's no heat, there's not a lot of things in these buildings that we lived in for a couple of years. And it was so hot with the sun blazing down on the brown buildings that we went to Sebring, and we had a guy from high school, and we said, hey, paint the buildings, something that blends in with the environment so they don't stick out so much, but make it lighter. And we came back from Sebring, and we have a mint green building. So it's been mint green for 20 some years, 25 years maybe at this point, but come on inside. I'm gonna also point out that up at the front where the trees are right now, the water all runs down the hill. And we finally, a couple of years into this thing, put in a French drain because the buildings were sided, and of course metal buildings, it's metal running down into a holder at the bottom, and the water would just pour over the top. So it would start raining, and our inventory, which back in the old days was a bunch of brake rotors that we weren't smart enough to put on pallets on the floor because we couldn't afford shelves, the water would just roll in and demolish the brake rotors. So we'd have a rusty brake rotor sale back in the day. And here it is. And currently being used as kind of a side project shop. Dave Simpkins, one of our guys that worked out of here very early on, has a couple of projects that he works on here. Some of our employees have projects that they work on in the old shop. You know, we've got so many old shops and new warehouse. So it's kind of hard to keep track of what's the old and what's new. Don't ever name a building new building because it won't be the new building forever. But down this row is where the desks were initially. Answering phones sitting there. Every morning we'd wake up and we'd have a blast heater going, kerosene heater, and of course you can't hear over a kerosene heater, so we get that thing rolling, get the building heated up to some degree, put on coveralls, and then turn off the heat so we could hear the phones ring, and deal with that for as long as we could. I'd double up on nitrile gloves for a little bit of warmth, but still being able to type. Have a little ceramic heater running across my hands so they wouldn't lock up, and then sometime mid-morning, fire up the heater again and just miss a phone call or two because it was too cold to work in the winter. So kind of opposite of that summer fun. There's a splitter from a E36 World Challenge car up there, along with some more recent World Challenge M235i racing stuff. But that splitter's pretty funny to see. We built our E36 cars out of this location. We built our E46 touring cars out of this location, and we were the first team in the world to run E90 cars that were built in bodies of white out of this location. No heat, no running water, brutal. But it's the start of a business, and it's pretty cool to come back here and see this place and see that it's still got some life in it with BMWs. So we'll go check out some of the other stuff as we grew. There's a number panel on the front of the fridge over here. Yeah, I think this is actually the first, this was the first BimmerWorld built car. The number 28 on the old SSF number panel. For BMW Club Racing, that was the first car we built as BimmerWorld in E36 325. I don't think so. I think I just liked the visual round letters. It was a number I could get because I wanted to get my annual numbers. And You know, we never settled into, you know, historic numbers or specific paint schemes, and we still don't really do specific company branded paint schemes. We work with a lot of our sponsors, and that's kind of more the focus for me for racing. But ever since that number 28 E36 car, my number's been 36.
You wish you had that wood stove right there?
God, I wish I had the wood stove. Yeah, that's one of Dave's additions, and man, yeah, that would have been amazing to have back in the day. Also, these lights are a pretty fantastic upgrade. I'm pretty sure we didn't have this many lights here, nor this many shelves, nor this many tools. I think we did have that radio. I think that's the radio from back in the day. A CD player, a couple of old speakers, and that thing works pretty well, actually. So early on here, we used to break cars apart. I'd buy an E28, an E30 for a few $100. Had been salvaged, wrecked, and we'd put them up on the hill, and you know, of course, do all the right stuff. We actually did do the right stuff and draining the fuel tank, draining the fluids. But then we'd pull engines, pull parts, etc. And that's kind of how I got my start, because I could do that stuff, buy cars cheap, just spend time on it, and you know, invest labor hours, and then sell parts. So that was I learned that from buying an E30 M3 as a parts car for my race car, and made a fair amount of money, enough to go racing when I was parting the rest of the things out that I didn't need. So kind of rinse and repeat. And yeah, could buy about 10 cars for a few grand and make about 20 or 30 grand, and that was enough to buy dinner and a race tire too. And back here for a long time, and I think some of that is still maybe old inventory that hasn't sold. I used to be the window rack, the door rack. I have a 635, E24 635 front glass and hood in excellent condition still. That's when the inventory system was in my head, which unfortunately is still functional. So this is our third BimmerWorld facility, and we've moved out of here. This is the office space, was the office and warehouse, and first one of those that we had officially, or that was nice. So it's been remodeled. It's moved out of currently. So you know, we lived in this thing for a bunch of years, just as this came from a flooring company, and it was rooted in the 70s, wood paneling, shag carpet, and you know, we didn't have the money to fix that, but we had our first real facility that we bought as BimmerWorld. We've since sectioned it up. You know, this used to just be a big open office, and then it became a matter of how many people can we put in here? Let's get some workstations. You know, for first couple of days it was 2 people in this big room, and this was all one big room. And this was packed with different flooring samples, which lived for a while from the previous owner. This is our accounting office, became our PowerFlex office as we did the Tetris shuffle through here. At one point in this room, we had 10 people, maybe 11. I think maybe at some point we had somebody parked at this desk, because as we continued to grow, this is like 7,500 square feet. We just had to find space for people. We have an office in the back here, was my office, shared with Carrie Wers, who's now our general manager. Hey, kitchen, little thing, we updated it when we did our big renovation. That was in 2016, something like that. And this place was a pretty pleasant place to work. In the back here, this was always our race shop. And this building came online in 2006 or so, I think, and while this place has packed right now with current project cars, customer cars, etc. I can remember the time when this was just blank canvas, nothing in this room, and that was in the time that we were building World Challenge touring cars. So the first two E90s, which were built in the old facility with no running water, no heat, etc., moved into here. We completed our third car in this location. The E36 wagon came over from Europe, was one of the first things we did in this location that wasn't a race car. And then this was our warehouse. So 4,000 square feet of shop, 1,500 square feet of office back in the day for two people, and a 2,000 square foot warehouse, which if I look at the new warehouse that's 70,000 square feet, it's amazing we did it all from here. First time I've seen it since the move out. Most recently, this was the PowerFlex warehouse. We went through versions where this was BimmerWorld warehouse, and then we created an Overflow in a new building that we'll roll through here in a minute. Then we moved over to the new location, and it's constantly repurposing, finding these little growth businesses like PowerFlex that grew into its own space and then outgrew this space and needed a bigger, different one. So PowerFlex has moved out. Still got some remnants of racing up on the wall. Unfortunately, we probably have more sides of car from a range of cars than I care to count, but I guess that's part of having a race team. Back into the main shop. This has been the fabrication area since the beginning. 3 lifts over there. I think we're gonna expand that a little bit in the new place. Excited about that. And now on to the lower building. So the lower building came online, if that was 2006, lower building was maybe 2011. And initially it was a place to store our transporters and trailers inside. Those things are so expensive that we hang on to them for years, and we want to keep them nice. So storing the equipment inside is a way to do that, and worth the investment in the building to keep the equipment running. This was our first dyno. We used a dyno down the road for so many years, but then every time we needed to use the dyno, we had to fix the dyno from whoever else used it last. And so installing our own dyno was really a step forward in our ability to run a race team well, to be able to run off cars, whether it be our race cars before every race weekend or customer cars as we got finished to do verification work and send them to the track, knowing that they were running properly, or testing and development for products. And having our own dyno meant that we could just let cars sit on the dyno as needed. It's always a rush when you go to somebody else's dyno and have to do the fast shovel to test the things and think about, oh gosh, what about this? What didn't we test? Or we need to back this thing, or we need to go back and forth to make sure that our dyno results are accurate. Not only is this dyno incredibly accurate because of the way the building's built, the ventilation, etc., stuff can sit on it. We can take our time and we can do the work right. So the dyno was a massive step forward in the business. Still in the process of moving. We'll get to this. Currently, this is transporter storage. This became Overflow warehouse for a while, and maybe 2,000 square feet, 2,500 square feet of the 7,200 in this building was just large parts. As we started getting into MagnaFlow exhaust, PWR, CSF, coolers, which are larger in size, things that we ordered that we had to order in bulk that we were doing the manufacturing or the contract manufacturing of. That's where this stuff moved to. And then I always kind of equate this to the Ark of the Covenant room. There's things on that shelf and on that wall from 20 years of professional racing that I know have value. I don't know that we'll ever get the value out of it, or actually sell these things, but there's so many parts on that shelf that are so cool. So, you know, through this move process, I guess we'll get an opportunity to dig through those and see what kind of stuff we got. Wheels, tires from hopefully the last generation or two of racing. We do try to do some level of cleaning as we get through here, some level of rotation on parts, but it's hard when you're a pack rat and you just, you know, unfortunately there's always an example where we're looking for a part, and I wish our F8X fuel starvation kit, it turns out that we had an F3X fuel tank from our old IMSA cars, Grand Am cars, whatever generation those came from, and same part, same fuel cell, or same fuel tank from the factory. So we had the part to do the development, and you know, that's kind of validation of why we don't throw anything away. So this is our stackers, which came from bin pack more recently, just a way to economize as we're running out of space. This building at 7,200 square feet combined with the other shop office at 7,500 square feet. That's not enough for a growing business, so we had to go vertical. So we put the cars vertically. Project cars, we have an E46 M3 here, which we still do development work on. And you know, when we need that car, it comes off the rack, we do the work, put it back up. This is kind of race team current, spare parts, storage, etc. And you know, endurance racing. Fuel, I'm looking up there, there's a fuel tank, fuel rig. That sure came in handy, even though we're not running IMSA currently. When we ran SRO, ran that COTA endurance race, we had all our fueling gear because we keep everything we ever have. So, you know, stuff packed in every corner. I'm sure this move will be difficult. Charlie's excited about the warehouse and all the things he can find in here, so I'm sure we'll be equally excited as we unpack this stuff and move on to the next building. So 4085 was our first facility in Dublin. Third facility overall is BimmerWorld. Third and a half for the building we built in 2011. This is the quote new warehouse, and the challenge with calling things the new warehouse is we've had 4 different new warehouses, and it's always, oh, well, new warehouse. Now, do we call that old warehouse? Because we also have some of those too. So anyway, this was our neighbor's property. Our neighbor was property management. This was a gravel parking lot, and this building looked a little bit rough, but we needed more space and we needed more land, and the cost to build an additional building was high, so we were able to acquire this one, 12,000 square feet plus a little bump for an office, and this became our new warehouse and purchasing office. Again, we're moving out of here, so we had 6 workstations in here. This was purchasing, it was Lifeline's home base, and this was previously rented out to somebody for medical file storage, so it was a little office and storage in here, which became our break room. And again, as we're trying to stack people, desks for 6 people. Break room, currently moved out of, tables, chairs, refrigerator, etc. for all the warehouse peeps. And then the quote, new warehouse. So we purchased this as part of a 5-year plan in 2018. Started a renovation. Before this was storage for the previous owner, it was a machine shop. So we have these massive electrical buses that we kept up, thinking we were going to install machines in here, which we never really got to before we outgrew the space. But 12,000 square feet of warehouse. This is the remains of the shipping stations. JR, warehouse manager, currently getting the rest of the move done, moving all this pallet rack, all the riv rack, etc., to the new facility. So this was our first warehouse with air conditioning. That was pretty cool. Not enough to really make it cool in the summer, nor warm in the winter, but enough to knock the rough edges off. So that was a massive upgrade for us. But this place served us well. Unfortunately, not long enough. So if we bought this in 2018, this was our COVID project. So we tried to think when the world shut down and all of a sudden we're not racing anymore, what are we going to do? So we were very fortunate that we had a team of guys that were on the race team, couldn't go racing. So we moved, and they helped us move over into this facility from, if it's 2,000 square feet from the old warehouse, and maybe 2,500 square feet from the new addition overstock of the old warehouse. We moved to the 12,000 square feet of the new, which is no longer the new warehouse. Charlie, leave that alone. But that was the move in, and this business seems like it's like a goldfish in a bowl. And how big do you want your fish to be? Well, how big is the bowl? And like everything, this started out with 30% capacity, immediately went to 50, 60% capacity, and then with the craziness of COVID and the shift of buying habits from our customers and the gain in customers and all the work the web team has done to add more products. We were sub 5,000 SKUs at the old place. Now we're 25,000, 20,000 SKUs when we were in this place, now up to 35,000 SKUs that we keep in stock here. So everything just grows until you grow out of it. So this facility and the neighboring facility, which we lovingly dubbed the wheelhouse, looks a lot less impressive without all the racking. When it's racked up, it has thousands of wheels in it. As we started our own BimmerWorld wheel line, it had exhaust, MagnaFlow exhaust, some of those big products that are Overflow products, sway bars as we started our own sway bar line. Things that are large that have some level of store it for a while, large order quantities. This also served as our receiving area. So we built this piece, 3 receiving doors with docks, 1 on grade door, and everything came into this building, flowed through to the other building, to the receiving end, and then out that side of the door for UPS pickup, except for freight, which was routed back through here. So it was wild to come from 1 loading dock, which we used on occasion, to by the time we were in this facility, now we've got 3 loading docks, which are regularly used, rotated through, and at many times, all 3 parked up with freight deliveries. So just growth of business that has been fantastic, that is hard to plan for, and that's why we have the new facility. It's the new facility, the Bimmer Mart, because as we moved into this thing, officially got everything in here in 2020, we essentially outgrew it in 2 years, which is a really difficult situation where it's too expensive to build another building. We wouldn't have another place to site more buildings, and we just needed to have something massive where everything could be under 1 roof instead of jigsawing it all together to try to make it work with many roofs and many different buildings. So we bought a shopping mall. So this is our new shopping mall. We've got roughly 1,000 parking spaces. This used to be a Walmart, so now it's the Bimmer Mart. And the Walmart section of it is converted to warehouse. It's a full mall, 140,000 square feet, which gives us the room to grow as we need to, as we grow and as we have different divisions of company, machine shop, etc. We can keep on moving in as needed. So this is the 5th location, and this is gonna be our last location, 100% guaranteed, because with 20 acres, we have the building, enough under roof, and enough room for out parcels to do whatever we need to support BimmerWorld, our company, our customers, and really our employees and our future growth. So this is our new office, 1016 Memorial Drive, one of the units in our mall. Access control, of course. Charlie there waiting for us, what's up? And we've just moved in here, but so all our decorations aren't up. It's a little sparse, but we've got the accounting office in the front, separate individual offices over there for our guys that need to have private meetings, discussions with customers, a little less noise, etc. This is the open sales pole. I think we've got 20, 25 workstations set up currently, and a unit next door that we can move into and expand as needed with more desks, more space for people. My office with Carrie, general manager. She says I can't point my desk at her because apparently I speak too loudly, so we'll sort some of that stuff out as we go. And big break room, all the history that we've got to hang up on the walls, which we'll get there. First, it's getting the people over here. Break room, kitchen, and conference room. We now use this for a lot of our internal meetings. We can actually fit everybody in this one, but we have a larger one in the warehouse to be able to be even more roomy as we grow. But customer meetings, vendor meetings, etc., all take place right here. So we're still getting settled in, but we'll get there. Let's go over to the warehouse. So this is the new BimmerWorld warehouse. We've had to repurpose the front. We can get a car in the front, but we didn't want quite so much glass and accessibility where we're storing our parts. Come on inside. So back in the 80s, late 80s, early 90s, when this was built, you would have probably played video games up here. Now we're gonna hang trophies, etc. Still, this is just move in. We're not gonna talk about this a lot right now, but the guys killed it moving in here, and this is gonna be an amazing space. I think we're using 70,000 under roof for the new warehouse, and we're already filling it out pretty nicely. That's nuts to me. So this is a short peek at our warehouse. We're gonna get into it when we're fully done with it. But I wanted to say that our employees moved all the product, a lot of the product, the majority of the fast movers, etc., in 3 days to get us into this space. So it's been another few weeks since then. Every bit of product we have is in the new facility. We're currently installing all the pallet racks, all the other shelves and racking, and not everything is found its home. And again, we're gonna go through what this space is and the functionality of it in the future, but I can tell you after moving out of about 17,000 square feet and into 70,000 square feet, what it is right now is spacious and awesome and a fantastic place for our future. So we're getting ready to take a peek at the shop. First shop, no running water, no heat. AC, we don't know what that is. Most recent shop, 4,000 square feet, and nice place, still no AC. This place is just expansive. New shop. So we're not moved in yet, but we will. So this is like the blank canvas, and we've already got a nice layout set for this, multiple lifts, our stackers. Dyno is gonna be in the back corner. We actually have a new dyno that's going in here. Full fabrication room that will be walled off and separate, helps with dust and noise. And there's an echo in here from no vehicles. That'll soon change. Out here is the lawn and garden center, was the lawn and garden center. We knocked out some doors on the front of this thing. By the way, shop office right there. Knocked out doors here and put this massive roll up. So this is where the transporters go. Room for 2 transporters and another roll up door that goes to the outside lawn and garden center, which is where we keep all of our utility vehicles, our tow rigs, etc., our enclosed trailers, the smaller stuff, the stuff without as much value as the big rigs. So it's a lot. This is massive. I think we're looking at 15, close to 20,000 square feet for this facility, so about 5 times what it was, full marketing booth, etc. So we'll keep producing more videos and show you what we're doing in this new space. It's gonna be awesome. So that's the tour of the new facility. That's a little bit of a history lesson. We started this business in '97, and the growth has been awesome. The relationships we formed through the years of the business, almost 30 years, we got that coming up in a few years. We'll have a grand opening in 2025, so love to have you come over for that. But this is our new home, and we have roughly 5 times the space we had in the last space, which was pretty big for us, and it's going to be awesome. We appreciate everybody that made this possible. All of our customers, of course, we wouldn't do this without our customers. We couldn't do this, and we wouldn't do this without our customers. Our employees that have made this happen dug in hard. There's so much awesome in here, and I cannot wait for what the future holds.
Ready to go? Should be an awesome race weekend.
We are ready to kill it this year.
It's good.
It's going to be a wild ride.